Hey, so thanks so much for your time. Could you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your nonprofit to get started?
Sure. Hi, my name is Iris. Iris Schultz. I'm the executive director of Hunter's CMT4B3 Research Foundation. We are a nonprofit foundation set up to fund and facilitate research on CMT4B3 and other related neuromuscular diseases. I started the foundation with my husband a little over a year and a half ago because my 4-year-old son was diagnosed with Charcot-Marie-Tooth disease type 4B3. And it's a progressive neuromuscular disease. And when we got the diagnosis, we were just told to take him home, love him, and come back in a year and they can track the progression of the disease. We quickly learned that rare disease research is parent and patient funded and driven. So we started the Research Foundation to push the research forward to develop a treatment. And also, we want to help inspire other parents and families in similar situations who are given a really hard diagnosis and not known what to do. There's a lot of unknown in the rare disease world, and we're just trying to be as transparent as possible so we can help others.
Amazing. So I wanted to specifically ask you about that moment between learning of Hunter's diagnosis and then deciding to do something. So you're battling with doctors for 3 years for them to take his case seriously and to actually do the testing that he needed to get proper care. Finally, you get the diagnosis. And then can you tell me about the moment between learning that and deciding to take action? Because I'm sure that that transformation is not to be taken for granted. To get such difficult news and decide to do something with it is hard.
Yeah, you know, it's a little different with Hunter's story. We were always told that there was nothing wrong with him. So as like a parent, when you see him like behind other children, we're first time parents, we were always bringing him to every doctor. We're like, well, he's really small. They're like, oh, well, technically he's in the normal range. Don't worry. He was really small when he was born. He'll catch up. Every doctor told us there was nothing wrong with him. We took him to neurosurgeons, heart doctors, orthopedic surgeons, all the specialists, and any specialist anyone recommended. And we were always told there was nothing wrong. We were told we could do genetic testing, and we did do that at one. It all came back negative. So we were like, oh, that's great. Thank God. But we were still really confused. And I would say around two, we started when he wasn't walking and he was 2 years old. We were like, well, it seems like there's something really wrong. We got second opinions, and still everyone was like, no, he seems fine. He's going to get there. So we ended up at a different geneticist, and they were like, it's been more than a year. Let's rerun your genetic testing. We were like, yeah, sure. At this point, we were like, it's already negative. We know it's negative. Nothing's gonna come up, but we did everything anyone told us. So we were really blindsided when we got the diagnosis, because I spent the first 3 years trying to get Hunter services, everyone telling us he doesn't have a diagnosis. He's fine. He doesn't need services. There's nothing wrong with him. I mean, I can't count how many people told me there was nothing wrong with my son. And then to find out that there's something really, really wrong with your son, it was life shattering. It felt like our world was over. We were heartbroken. I mean, we were in the midst of the lockdown for the pandemic. It was May of 2020. We were completely already, isolated from family and friends. And we got this, it just felt like the world completely ended. And then we were trying to get him. So we had now a really sick kid. We went from having we're supposedly healthy, fine kid to now a really sick kid. And the doctors weren't seeing patients. No one was seeing patients. And I was like, how? So that was our first step, was let's get him to a specialist. Let's get him to a doctor. Like, they can fix him. Let's fix him. Let's, something's wrong. Let's attack the problem. So we spent all of our energy calling and calling and calling all these doctors who were not seeing patients. When are they going to be seeing patients again? When are you opening the hospital? When are you opening the doctor's office? Finally got him to see the specialists, to be told there's nothing we can do. So at that point, we were already fighting so hard. I remember going to one of the doctors and I was like, well, what if I did want to do something? What could I do? And she was amazing. She was like, well, why don't you start by reading the research papers that were written on the disease and then reaching out to the people who wrote the research papers. So that's where we started. And after doing that, which I read every research paper, reached out. I don't know, I must have sent out over 200 emails to, between the people who wrote those research papers and, similar diseases who developed, I was learning all this information. I was reaching out to anyone. And then we spoke to somebody and they connected me with another rare disease mom who developed a treatment for their child. And I
They
was like,
successfully developed the treatment.
they were the
Incredible.
first. She was the first in human trial for gene therapy using an AAV9 vector, Lori Soames, for giant axonal neuropathy. And she did it. And I was like, wow, that's the goal. I mean, if somebody else can do it, we can do it. And then now that we're in this world, there's so many families doing this. It's crazy because it's so sad that these families have to take this on because, pharmaceutical companies aren't funding it because there's not a large population, and academics don't want to devote their careers where there's not a lot of funding because they have to apply for grants to get funding to remain employed. So it's a double-edged sword. And so that's where the patient advocacy groups really come in and they make a difference, and they get all this like preclinical research funded. And then once there's like something, then it's, easier to gain interest. But there are so many families and foundations set up doing this, and there's so many success stories. She's not the only one. I spoke to a mom this week who her son received gene therapy 3 weeks ago. So I mean, it's being done, and it's being done more and more. The science is there, but that's kind of what sparked our journey. Once we saw that there were what other people were doing, we knew we had to be one of those families. We would do anything. We had to be able to tell Hunter at the end of the day that we did everything we possibly could do to help him. And it's not only him, it's so many other children. I mean, if we're successful, it's gonna, it will be applicable to every person who's suffering from CMT4B3. And what we're learning is going to be applied to other diseases. I mean, we're just a little cog in a big system, but it's, all helps. So we're
Exactly. Everything you do helps. And I'm sure everyone hearing this will have nothing but respect and admiration for all the work you've put in. And it is very significant. On that note, I wanted to ask a little bit about your fundraising efforts. Your foundation has successfully raised over $750,000. That's a very impressive sum. And I'm curious to hear, how did you get started? What has that journey been like? How did you get to such an impressive number?
Well, I must say that we had like a very supportive network of family, friends, and communities and strangers. I mean, we started fundraising during the pandemic, and people weren't really doing in-person events. So last year, the majority of our fundraising was done online. So we had a really successful peer-to-peer fundraising campaign. We did a really big Giving Tuesday online push. We, we just we had our friends shared our story, was just kind of getting our story out there. But it was mostly our friends and family, and they really, came forward to support us. They saw all the work we were doing. I think they saw how hard we were working and the team we put together. And we had a Zoom call when we started this with one of our scientists, and he explained everything on the call. We had another patient on the call, and I think showing that the science is there, that we can get there is a goal, and it's an attainable goal, and that there are like patients that are severely affected, that people were moved and people wanted to help. But we kind of we've hit all of our friends up. I mean, how many more times can I ask them? So we're starting to do trying to broaden our reach this year. We're actually gearing up at the end of next month, April 30th. We're hosting our first big in-person fundraising event. So that's going to be really exciting. Where me and my husband grew up, our local community, the fire department has come forward to hold a Fill the Boot campaign for us. So that's where they go around with their boots and they ask for donations, and it's a strong tradition between the fire department and families with neuromuscular diseases. So we're really excited that they've stepped forward and wanting to do this. And we were kind of like, well, if you're doing this, can we, expand and make this like a little bigger event? It's Hunter's birthday is next month. So I kind of told him it's his birthday party, and we're gonna have food trucks and face painters and balloon animals. And what else are we gonna have? We're gonna have a DJ. We're gonna have like arts and crafts stations. We're gonna have a bake sale. We want it to be like a fun family event, and we're just really excited. We're just really excited because we hope to, spread the word. That's the main goal of the day. I mean, we hope it raises money, but we really hope that everybody in our community comes out and learns more about what we're doing and the foundation. So we're excited, and we just, we cover all the overhead cost as founders. So every dollar donated goes directly to research. That's part of the reason we started the foundation, because we wanted to be, if we were asking people to money, for them to know that all of their donation is going directly to research. We don't take any salaries. We're completely volunteer based, and we as founders cover all the overhead costs so that every dollar that our friends, family, a stranger is donating is going directly into academic research. And on that note, we've also put in our bylaws that we don't cover indirect cost for like when we're sending out grants. So like we're not, even your money is not going to like, putting on the lights at, a university. It's all going to the science. We want to make sure that our funds are all going to the science.
That's incredible. And I really respect the fact that you're making sure that the money is going only toward the research, because my mom is actually a biologist. And so I know that grants can go into many different places. So I understand where you're coming from. And I'm sure Hunter is going to feel like a celebrity on the event at the end of the month. Where can people learn more about that event and get the details?
You get it on our website. We have an upcoming events tab, and we're going to be posting it in a couple days all over our social media and starting to get the word out. And yeah, that's where you can get all the information.
Wonderful. So I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the other families who you've met who are also raising funds for their children's rare diseases. Part of your foundation's goal is to bring hope to other families experiencing similar struggles. And I see that you have sort of a support system for them. Could you tell me a little bit about how you've come together, whether you meet up, how you support each other as families?
Yeah, it's actually a great story. So when we got the diagnosis, we were reaching out to all of our friends, sharing the news. And one of my husband's coworkers was like, this is so serendipitous. I actually have a coworker who's going through a very, very similar situation. Let me connect you guys. And we connected with them, and they were maybe 4 months ahead of us in this journey, but like doing the same exact stuff we were doing, like, reaching out to all the doctors, getting all the tools together, same situation. And it was great because we were like bouncing ideas back and forth from each other. We were going over everything. And they invited me into this Slack group called Rare Disease Crusaders. And there was like, I think at that time, maybe like 20 other families on there, all doing the same thing, different, at different points in the journey, and all sharing. And I remember I spent like 3 days just reading everything that was posted on it. It was all these different channels, like disease models, gene therapy, fundraising, so just a wealth of information. And I remember as soon as I joined, people were judging me, what can I do? How can I help you? And I was like, blown away. And so like anytime we had a question, we would ask the Slack group and somebody would answer. And, I'm always on there answering other people's questions. And then, you just meet these other families. And it's just amazing to hear their stories and what they're doing. And, we obviously all, are in the same rat race trying to save our kids as quickly as we can. But, we all know that like, we're stronger together. Like the more we can share and help each other, it only helps all of us. Like every success story is a win for us all. And we just, want to empower each other. And so it's so amazing. And then it actually spun off. They have like Ethan Pearlstein hosts a talk every week on Clubhouse where he gets he calls it the gene fixers, and he gets industry experts to come, and a lot of us come, so we get to ask questions. But it started off just like our group, and then now it's like so many people attend, and it's crazy.
Wow. And I'm sure it's invaluable to be part of a community like that. And it's amazing how you went from asking other people for help to being such an active helper to others who are now joining the community. On the note of being around people who understand you and your family's challenges, what is something that most people might not understand about kids like Hunter and about parents to kids like him?
Um, I think it's like twofold. I think one, it's really hard for a rare disease parent because, you know, there's no one really knows a lot about the disease. So even the doctors, and it's hard because there's a lot of like misinformation and no one really can give us like, I feel like I know more than half the doctors we see. So where I'm the expert on the disease now. But for him right now, he's a happy little boy. He's in his little bubble and stuff. But sometimes kids will ask, well, why can't he run, or why can't he do this, or why can't he do that? And I don't think it, I hope it doesn't affect him right now, but I'm obviously very like concerned about the future. And then on the other end, he really does look pretty healthy right now because he can get around. And in pictures, when you don't see him like actually walking, and he has like a funny gait, and he wears orthotics to walk, and you don't know how bad his vision really is. You just see him wearing glasses like a typical other kid. People don't think there's anything wrong, and so they're like, what, why is she doing all of this? Her kid's fine. But he's really not fine because it's a progressive disease, and it's life-threatening, and it's really scary. So I mean, it's just I feel it's hard. And he handles it like a champ. He lights up every room. I mean, every doctor he sees like falls in love with him. I mean, we went to a doctor recently at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and you see his chart, and it's like she's like, we were not expecting to see this kid when we walked in. Like they were like expecting someone so much worse off. I mean, and he's just like cracking jokes, like making them all laugh, like, and it's just amazing to see how vibrant he is now. But it's obviously we do see the disease progressing, so we're just it's the unknown. We don't know when. Yeah,
There's so much more than meets the eye, but he has to be a very resilient kid in order to be dealing with what he does and still be so happy and light up the room, as you say. It's an inspiration for all of us. How do you stay motivated and positive despite the constant challenges that you're dealing with? I'm sure at every turn there's another roadblock and another obstacle. So I'm wondering, how do you and Brett stay motivated and on course with keeping the research funded and everything?
well, we're really lucky. We have a really strong support system with our family and friends, and it's hard because to be upset because Hunter's so happy. He wakes up so happy, so there's no, I mean, late at night, I can like go to bed thinking about everything I have to do, and what's going to be tomorrow. Is he going to have nerve pain? Is he, sometimes I'm like, is he going to wake up not being able to walk? But then he wakes up and he's happy, and it's like, well, you can't be upset if he's so happy. So
Right.
you just keep, and then you're like, you want to do everything you can to keep him as happy for as long as possible. So it's like I would say there's something more motivating than your own child.
I hear that. My last two questions for you are if you could tell us something that you're currently working on, and if you'd like us to take away one thing from the interview, one message that everyone can leave with, what would it be? What do you want to tell the world?
So we're currently working on fundraising for this, setting up this large, sorry, we're currently working on the fundraiser we have coming up on April 30th, the Fill the Boot campaign. You know, a lot of moving pieces go into it. You know, we're having raffle items and silent auction items and all the different vendors, and you know, so it's a full-time job doing that. But at the same time, we're also working on, we're applying to a grant from Chan Zuckerberg. It's a $2 million grant. So that would be amazing to help. It's for basic science to better understand the disease. So, you know, we're fundraising, but, you know, we're also trying to get funds from other sources as well. So it's, you know, twofold. It's fundraising and science. That's basically all we do every day. And then what I could want everyone to take away from this interview is just, you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You really have to, you know, just cherish what you have today. Because that's the blessing of a rare disease, and having a, you know, a really sick child, is that I like truly, you know, just try to enjoy every moment with him and every day with him. And it's really made me more present. So just don't take your blessings for granted, and to, you know, pay it forward when you can.
Incredible. I think that we could all learn something from you in terms of being more present and doing what we do have despite the inevitable challenges that come up. Thank you so much.